Hi guys, this is my dark spot. I'm Brankitsa, and I am super excited to finally meet Jørgen of Shining. So, hi Jørgen, welcome to my channel, and how are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm fine. I was just outside fixing my bike and it's raining, so now I'm in here doing the podcast, waiting for the rain to end. So that's
Oh,
perfect.
okay. I'm so glad that you joined me because, as you probably know, I contacted you because I really love to have unique bands and people on my channel, like people who are, by my opinion, underrated.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome. By the way, I just also want to mention something. Recently, I saw you performed at the Exit Festival here in my
Yeah.
country. It was like a year ago, right?
Yes.
Okay, can you share some experiences about the festival?
I like the festival. I love the lineup that they have. They had, metal bands, and they had, I think Calvin Harris was on the same year. And that kind of diversity is, there's not many festivals that is that diverse. And my music taste is that diverse. So I wish more festivals would be, as open musically as that festival. And I love the area, the venue, or the castle that it was in. And I like that you had like concerts in every kind of nook and cranny, every corner. Yeah, you could. That was kind of a very cool place. So I'd love to be back.
Oh, okay. Oh, that would be it would be cool actually. It would be cool
Yeah.
because I have seen your performances only on YouTube, sadly, but I would love to see your band live. So if you have any plans, to perform here or at least in Budapest or near my country, that would be awesome.
It will.
Definitely.
I think we'll have a Budapest show in not too
Cool.
long, because it's always been that city's always been a very good city for us. So I guess early next year, sometime next year, it will be Budapest, I'm sure.
Oh, cool. Definitely. So count me in. I always go to Budapest because sadly in my city and not so many great bands. There were many years ago, but whatever happened, I'm not really sure. And then I go to Budapest. I saw many great bands like Tool, Deftones, Bad Omens, Bring Me the Horizon, a lot of good bands, Gojira, and
Yeah.
that would be cool. What about you? Have you visited any festival recently?
I was at a festival this weekend in Helsinki. I play in a lot of festivals. I don't really go to festivals to watch concert that much, but I play festivals all the time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you generally so you see the bands you like and you perform. So it's like it's like cool. You do the thing, do actually two things at the same time, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I have a little extra time when we play, and then if we're at a festival, then I might see some bands while I'm there, or the day before, or something like that. But I usually don't have time to, since I travel so much playing. I don't really travel that much when I'm on my own.
Yeah. I see. And tell me something about your latest releases. I have noticed, like considering the, future releases, it would be. I mean, I can only imagine what it will be like because when I compare to the previous, the current releases and the future ones, I can only imagine that would be something totally crazy. And what can you say about that when you reflect on the past and that innovation you have right now? I see a lot of experimenting, some great collaborations, but I would like to hear more about it. Definitely.
Yeah. I never really plan what we're gonna do. I just do what I want to do. So I don't even know myself, what we're gonna do. But I know, like, we have released five, six, seven singles the last year or two, and I have a lot of demos that I want to finish now. Like, we're doing a little Black Jazz tour now in September, October. After that, I'm going to finish new music, and hopefully we'll have new album out next year. But what kind of music it'll be, I'm not sure. If I look back, I see that we usually do like 2 or 3 albums at a time, which is kind of similar before we change. So, and I don't feel tired of what I'm doing yet. So I think like maybe some more of what I'm doing now, and then there might be a change, after that again. If I look back at the history, if that teaches me anything.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think I guess you just go with the flow, like the current inspiration, I suppose. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the only thing that matters to me. It's if I like it or not, if I
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah, it's I think it's the most important thing for all the artists, because I think people can get lost, between what other people want from them and between what they want. And I think it can be a problem for a lot of bands. And
Yeah.
I watched in one of your interviews that you said that people started liking Animal like many years after releasing that. Is
Yeah.
it is it kind of a shocking moment to you, or you expected it actually?
I know that happened with and with Black Jazz too. It took 5 years for people to really like it. Of course, you had some people that that was early, but most people took 5 years to understand it. And now, like even more 10 years. Now we're doing anniversary shows and people love it. That was not the case during the first years. People hated it and people wanted to play the older stuff, like before Black Jazz. So I kind of know. I guess I was, now looking back at it, I'm not surprised that people were not ready for it when Animal came out, and now after 5 years they love it. But I understand it now, and I should have been prepared, but I kind of had forgotten about it, But I guess that's what it is, and I'm fine with it. We can, if people are slow, that's fine. I'll just continue making new music anyhow, and then if they take 5 years to like it, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I can wait. I can, yeah.
I like that attitude actually. I'm just like that because I have noticed, for example, for a lot of bands I'm listening to, some of my friends be like, "Oh my God, how can you listen to that?" And they didn't even hear a song, like a decent song of that band, and like. I think you must. I really like to give a chance to a lot of bands. Doesn't matter the genre, and people are just too quick to judge. That's what I don't like. You know what I mean?
People are quick to
Yeah,
judge, and people also are really, usually they're a bit blind by what they expect. So
exactly. Yeah,
if you expect something like the last album and it's not like that, then suddenly you feel that what just came out is not good. But if you like as an experiment, if we had stopped calling our band Shining and called it something else and released Animal, of course no one would have thought that was not, they it wouldn't have been as controversial. But we
yeah,
decided to keep the name, so people expected Black Jazz and didn't get Black Jazz. So
yeah,
and it has a lot to do with people expecting Black Jazz.
exactly.
And now that we're releasing music that kind of sounds a bit like we've done since 2018. It's like fucking 5 years. Then people are not surprised anymore, and so people like it. But I personally like the artist that I like is has been changing throughout their careers. It could be David Bowie, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Nine Inch Nails, even Kanye West is changing things all the time. That's the artist that I get inspired by, and that's the kind of artist that I want to be. I want to have like this kind of long career where you can go in and you can see where it goes and it changes. It's like interesting as a long journey. I don't want to be like, I can enjoy some good AC/DC songs, but I don't want to be that artist. I don't want to be the Iron Maiden or the AC/DC who does the same for
Yeah,
30 years, So
exactly.
just two different ways of being an artist. But a lot of people that I work with are have the same mindset as me. Like Marty Friedman from Megadeth, who I've been working with on 2 albums. He's also changing and always searching for new things. He moved to Japan and learned the Japanese language and learned about the J-pop and all of that stuff. And Ishan from Emperor, he's also like that. He changes things when he's tired of doing just the black metal stuff. He does something else. Not long ago he did an Aha cover song, Manhattan Skyline, I think it was, like one of the biggest, most popular Norwegian pop bands. So it's those are the ones that I gravitate towards and like to work with, and that's the kind of artist that I want to be. And I think in the long run, I see now the comments that I get now, like when Animal came out, and the same with Black Jazz. But let's talk about Animal. They didn't like the fact that we changed. That was a negative thing. Now the fact that we changed with Animal and did whatever I wanted to do, now that's a positive thing. So it's the same thing. It just turned positive. It's turned to a reason why people like Shining now. So it's a bit crazy. I don't think that much about it, but it is kind of interesting. And right now it's turning and we're getting popular again. So it's good. But in 5 years from now, we'll probably do the same.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. Yeah, pushing boundaries always. But for
Yeah.
example, when you mentioned those bands, and I like those experiments with jazz, like to me, it mostly like from the bands I choose, it always turns to be good. For example, you heard about Imperial Triumphant. It's
No,
like
I just heard a name, but I haven't listened to their music.
there's some kind of, I mean, they're actually black metal, but combined with jazz. And how do I call it? Like black metal goes Twin Peaks. It's
Oh,
totally
yeah.
insane. So it must be good. But of course, for the people who like those genres. And if you have noticed, there's some not so famous bands from Bulgaria like Madi. So they combine blues, stoner, doom with jazz. It's insane, like the way they do it, and they're completely unique. You check them out, like they use
How do you spell that name?
Muddy, like Muddy. Yeah, you will. I
Yeah.
can send you the link. Yeah, so I think you can go totally get inspired by them, like and make
Yeah.
totally something your own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and since your music is known for, experimenting and, combining various genres and elements, layers, that's also very important. How hard is it to stay authentic and still push the boundaries and make something unique that no one else did before? Like to find that, balance.
Um, um, like that was two questions. How hard is it to both stay true to yourself or and also push boundaries? I personally, the most important thing is to be authentic and stay true to myself. And if we're pushing boundaries or not, I feel like for instance with Black Jazz, we pushed boundaries compared to what everybody else was doing or the music history, because you had like a hole in the music history that nobody had done. Nobody had made music that sounded like that. So and I saw that and I wanted to do that. So we kind of filled that hole. That was a way to push boundaries. But I also push boundaries even like personally. I just like I try to learn how to sing. That's one way of pushing my boundaries. Learn how to produce and mix myself. back in the days, I started playing the saxophone, and I played the flute, and then I played the bass clarinet and accordion. So learning new instrument, like learning how to play guitar, all of that stuff is me pushing my own boundaries, or more rather actually learning new things. And I think in my life, that's what gives me that what gives me a lot of meaning, learning new things and becoming better at something, you know. So if people perceive it as new or not, it's not as important to me. It's more important that I learn something new, you know. See what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Yeah. Exactly. I agree on that.
So
Definitely.
it's a kind of like an egoistic kind of thing to care about. But I think what it does, it always keeps me searching, and always keeps me like on the edge, which I think as a listener you kind of notice. You notice if the artist is doing something safe, or if the artist is trying something new. And in the process of trying something new that you don't know how to do, you might actually stumble upon something new. Like I have a friend who's not very theoretically, he doesn't know that much music theory, and he's like kind of limited in his technique, but he's really good at what he's doing, but he's not very flexible. And sometimes he listens to a song and he kind of wants to write the same song, but he doesn't know, he doesn't manage to do it, but it turns into his song no matter what. So it's a way he tried something and failed at it, but it became something else, which is good. So that is also interesting. I can, if I try to sing like Corey Taylor from Slipknot, I can't do it, but it might turn into something cool no matter what,
Yeah.
just maybe not what I wanted, but then you can find some other kind of sound that you can do.
Yeah,
So
even Corey, he has, I mean, he has also that band Stone Sour. I like that, and it is interesting to to hear his voice variations, and also he has been experimenting, like, and he is pretty much good at what he does. But I can
yeah,
imagine how you would do that, like that kind
yeah,
of thing your way. It would be kind of cool if you started
yeah,
to, yeah, that
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
So yeah, I also wanted to ask, so what do you think, for example, what I have noticed? Like, do you think it's more important to have like that vision you already have, like to be, to know what you're doing and just push it? And in opposite to, more promoting yourself, because I have seen that there are so many people like out there, like on the internet, but they don't manage, to stay present over the years. They just like have, you remember back then in 90s, there were a lot of crazy hits. You know what I mean? Like, and then all those people vanished. Like, and do you know why? I mean, can you tell us something about it? Why does it happen? And especially nowadays, like all those things go super viral. It seems like people are just going to make a hit to be
yeah.
popular, or you think it's something else related to it?
I agree that with what you're saying, that you have a lot of people coming and going. I guess you probably had that before also, but what I like, I've been here. I've been a musician since I was like, I've not only been a musician. I've never had another job. And like I can say for myself that the reason that I've been able to do it is that I have learned, or been forced to learn, how to do everything related to what I'm making. I write my own stuff. I record it now, like I'm producing it. Sometimes I'm mixing it. Sometimes I have to do the artwork, put it, give it to distribution, edit videos, grade the videos, like do all of that stuff. Which means that if someone I work with suddenly decides they want to do something else, then I'm not kind of, I don't have to stop. I can continue, find someone else, or do it myself. And when the pandemic hits and I can't play shows anymore, then I made my own. Before that, I made my own merch store for Shining. So I spent that year sending out I guess 1,000 merch packages, and I can write music for other people. So just learning how to do a lot of learning how to make your own stuff gives me the ability to stay here in ups and downs. Well, if you are a beautiful pop artist who maybe needs someone to produce and write the songs for them, then if you lose the producer and the songwriter, then you have nothing. You don't know how to recreate it. And if you're famous for, let's say, if you're famous for one kind of music that is really popular, and then times are changing, and 5 years later, then that music isn't popular anymore, then if you don't know how to change and learn new things, then you're just gonna fall off the side of the road, you know. So I think that's probably why all of the ones that you're talking about like they come and they go because they don't really make their own stuff. And if they're in it for the fame and the money, then there will always be ups and there will always be downs, and it's fun on the ups. But if your heart is not in it, then you're gonna give up when you have a slow period. Well, I've had ups and downs many times, so I kind of know what it is, you know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's my theory. The ones that can manage to keep going, those people are usually really passionate about it for other reasons than money and fame, and they also know how to make their own stuff, more or less, you know. Maybe they don't know how to mix, but they probably know a lot of, you know, how to write their own stuff, etc. So that's what I think.
Yeah, yeah, and to be consistent in what you're doing, because as you said, like it doesn't matter. You can always count on that people will come and go, and you shouldn't rely like on anyone 100%. That's how you lose. I learned it harder way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people will come and go. So
Yeah.
you're not gonna. There are very few people who, like in a band or a working relationship, who stay together for their whole life. I can't think of anyone. There's always going to be changes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But I'm glad that you made it. And tell me something about your musical education. I have read something, and also I have seen that you basically started playing in bands when you were 10, only 10, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think like the first thing I recorded, I don't know if let's see if I can find it here. I have a cassette. It was a cassette that I still have it in my basement, but let's see if I can find it on the internet.
Okay.
But that was probably when I was around 10, 11 years old, I think. Yeah, that's right. I've been yeah, that was in 1990 or 91. I'm born in 1980. Yeah, and I started listening to metal music when I was a kid. Bare så dere vet det, så dette her tas opp og er på YouTube, så det er greit å se det. So I started listening to metal music when I was a kid, and started, for some reason, playing the saxophone when I was 9 years. But I don't really know why, because I hadn't listened to any music with saxophone in it. I didn't listen to jazz music but it was probably something with how it looked or whatever. I just started playing the saxophone in a marching band where I lived. And then after a while, I got into jazz music. So I started studying jazz music when I was 15 and I played in some jazz bands, and I started writing jazz music. And I started studying at the Norwegian State Academy of Music when I was done with the normal school. So that was 18, 19 when I did that. Studied jazz music, contemporary classical music, and composition and stuff like that. At a place where most people were classical violinists and classical. They had a little jazz study, but most of them were classical people. Did that for perhaps 6-7 years. But during that time, I started kind of missing the metal music. So in 2006, I think I started buying metal albums again, started getting into new bands that I hadn't heard before, like Dillinger Escape Plan, Sono, The Locust, kind of these kind of things, Meshuggah, and I started getting into Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson that I didn't listen to when I was younger. I started appreciating some of the black metal stuff that I also didn't listen to when I was younger, and that kind of eventually led to the Black Jazz album in 2010. But I do remember that I was, I had my alto sax when I was a kid, and that when Pantera's Vulgar Display of Power came out, let's see when that was. I bought it, and I was at home, like, playing my saxophone to that album. So I think that was probably it says 92. So probably around the 92, let's say. I did like 20 years after I was like, took me 20 years to kind of figure out how to play my sax with metal music. I think I kind of like landed on something that worked for the first time in 2010 with black jazz, but I had tried it since 1990. So that's kind of interesting to me, and that's probably why not like I see a lot of younger people play black jazz type of music now. I think it's because when I grew up, you couldn't really, it wasn't easy to get a hold of a lot of different music. You had to either rely on what the music your friends had on CDs or vinyls, or you'd have to order it on the record store. And I remember I ordered something and I got the wrong band, but they had this, the same name, but it was a different band. So that was what it was like. But now people can find everything on YouTube and Spotify. So it makes like the ones who are interested in expanding their horizon, they can do that. So that's a good thing, I think. I think we'll probably see a lot more musicians now that have this kind of that both like metal and jazz music at the same time. While when I was young, it wasn't the normal thing to do,
Yeah, and the thing is also, what I have noticed, you also have very interested music taste. It kind of reminds me of I can listen to pretty much almost everything, and it's always interesting that people who I follow as bands, musicians, artists in general, each and every one of them has absolutely insanely good, music taste, and they naturally make awesome music. So how do you, what can you say about it? I think it's an interesting thing. Like, you just gather all the things you can hear, you interpret it your own way, and you totally get inspired, and you don't, of course, copy paste. You totally make something creative, unique out of it, but you can see the influences like grungy, whatever, industrial. So what do you say?
Yeah. No, I mean, there were two things I want to comment on. One is the thing about good taste. I don't think much about good taste. I think there's something about using the word good taste, which implies that there's something that is bad taste. And as an artist, if you're thinking about that, means something is allowed and something is not allowed, which limits your available things to do. And I don't really like limiting yourself if you don't want to, So I never really think about. Sometimes I think stuff that is viewed as bad taste or kitschy or guilty pleasure stuff, sometimes that kind of it can add some energy and some tension, some interesting parts to music I'm making. I like music that is kind of like on the edge of what is allowed. And so if you're always trying to be safe and be like show that you have good taste, then your music is probably going to be kind of boring and safe. That's what I think.
Yeah, yeah,
So I try to not think much about, I don't claim to have good taste, and I'm like a proponent of liking whatever you want to, whatever you like, and be proud of it, and not be, not try to hide what you like. Yeah, so that's one thing. And another thing is that I've noticed that everything I do kind of, if I work long enough on it, it's gonna sound like me anyhow, which means that I can take any kind of music, I can be inspired by anything, and if I work with it, nobody will. If I take a Nickelback song and I want to write something that is the same, it's not going to sound like Nickelback. If I want to take a Dr. Dre song and write the same, it's not going to sound like Dr. Dre.
yeah.
Okay. So since everything is going to sound kind of like me anyhow, I'm not afraid of being inspired by things that might on the surface feel like it's too far off, because I know that it's gonna come together and like be sound like me anyhow. I feel like I've seen it when I write music for other bands or as a guest artist for other bands. I always try to, be myself in that music, and I feel that that works. So basically that's kind of how I don't know how exactly I do it. I guess that I've just landed on certain things that I like, certain chords, certain melodies, certain sounds, certain ways of singing or playing, or or maybe certain lyrical concepts or certain themes that kind of that is what I like, and that's kind of familiar. I think like there's a lot of other bands or artists that are the same. You could always hear what, if Trent Reznor is involved, you can hear it in his melodies, or you can hear his vocals, and the same with David Bowie, same with John Coltrane. All of these people that I did mention, a lot of these people, when it comes to having a career that is changing. But I think in those careers that are changing, you can also hear the common thread throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's what if I kind of take a few steps back and look at it from outside, that's what I think is happening. While I'm working, I don't think about it. I just work until I feel that it represents me or how I want it to be.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool that you mentioned that. I just also wanted to say that when I said that about the music taste in general, I myself, I don't, I can't also say that I something called guilty pleasures, because I totally openly say, okay, I can listen to, I don't know, Limp Bizkit, whatever, Lana Del Rey, absolutely whatever, like whatever. But back then, it was really, terrible. When I went to high school, it was like, we all got into Immortal, I don't know, Cradle of Filth, whatever, so you couldn't really say that you are listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers, because you'll be banned from,
Yeah,
those
yeah, yeah.
black metal circles.
Yeah,
It's
there's
that,
still
you know,
there's still a bit like that. I think
yeah,
in the black metal world, it's still a bit like that, and I think it's like that in many musical, genres or subcultures. They're very very stiff and protective or whatever. I'm not like that. And I hope that what people, like I said, that people will be more and more open now that all music is available. There's no real reason to box yourself in. Like,
Yeah.
I can understand if you're really into certain clothing style, if like you're really into the black metal way of dressing, and I can understand that maybe you want to, maybe you kind of, well, if I think about it, now that I think about it, if you want to look like that but then go to an Eminem show, I think that's kind of cool too. So
Yeah.
I hope that things will just like open up a bit more. What I don't know if you know the American band Periphery. Do you know them?
Heard about them, but I haven't
Yeah.
listened to them. Yeah.
They're friends of mine. They're pretty big American band. They're kind of like gent type band, technical gent band, and it's heavy and it's hard and aggressive, but they always looked very non-metal. They looked like normal dudes, colored clothing, all sorts of. They're like, and that's kind of, there's a new generation that came about 10 years ago that play metal, but they don't look like metal. They don't have leather jackets or chains or studded jackets, or which I think is cool. I think if you look at, like, I think every kind of culture that you start out and it's all kind of intertwined. If you look at hip hop, you kind of, it was a musical thing, and it was a clothing thing. It was graffiti, street kind of thing. It was a drug dealer, gang member thing. It was a sociological, most people were blacks, all of these things together. And then after a while, Eminem came. He was white, which was a big deal, but now it's, nobody thinks about it. And you had like Aerosmith or whoever, I think it was Aerosmith, doing like playing
Yeah.
together with hip hop acts, and then it started getting Beastie Boys, and
Yeah.
things started opening up. And now you don't have to be black. You don't have to live in the US. You don't have to do graffiti. You don't have to look like a hip hopper to do hip hop music. It's just after 20 years or so, the music is so established that you can take away the stuff outside of music, and the music will
Yeah.
still be cool. And I think with, for instance, black metal, that is starting to happen now. Like when we play with Emperor, we don't really look like a black metal band. We don't do makeups and shit, but we can still play that music. And you have younger bands who, there was this band that was really popular. Let's see, they had an album called Sunbather, Death Haven.
Okay.
They were pretty. They kind of like came to be known around the time when we released Black Jazz. 2013 was that album came out, and they also, if you search, I can maybe, I'll send you
Okay. Yeah, you can.
I'll send you a little picture. It's like, the interesting thing is that the cover artwork is kind of, let's copy image. The cover artwork is pink,
Okay.
and it doesn't look metal at all, but the music is pretty metal. But they also have some parts where they have like normal major chords, and it doesn't sound metal. I just sent you a link on the chat,
Okay. You
which
mean in the chat box here?
yes, yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
Can you see that? You
Oh,
just,
yeah.
that's an example of a band that I remember from that time that
Oh, I see.
sounded kind of black metal type of, they sound a bit black metal with a twist, but that thing looked very non-black metal. So that's something that I like when you're kind of, breaking up the expectations of everything that or like like I said, usually music starts with a lot of everything is intertwined, everything needs to be the same thing, and then when it kind of matures, you can start splitting it up and take away the black clothes and take away the makeup and shit, which I
Yeah.
think is interesting.
Yeah, I also like those collaborations you mentioned, and also hip hop started getting emo, so that's what I like, and also a bit grungy. Certain rappers like from City Morgue, they also have solo projects, like totally grungy vibes, and it's so freaking good. Like I gave it
Hmm.
a chance, I'm so glad. Also, I'm big fan of Lil Peep because first time I was like, okay, he's okay, but then when I really got into it, certain songs really strike me, and you
Hmm.
can see the person really poured heart into what he was doing, and it is not
Hmm.
an accident that he gained popularity even after his death. Like he is still
Yeah.
basically alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like totally.
I remember Body Count when I was young. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
I
remember that band.
love them. Love
Yeah.
them. Yeah,
So that was
yeah,
another thing where, I like metal, but I also listen to hip hop music. So having
yeah.
that kind of connection, and that was very early. Not many people did that. You had Body Count, and you had maybe Clawfingered had a little bit of that, and of course, you had some rap stuff in some of the Limp Bizkit and that kind of stuff. But although I didn't listen to it, so I don't know much about it. But those have always been the people who've like kind of you know uh, tore down boundaries, so to speak. That's always been my favorite artist.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And let's see something else. I prepared some other questions. So, tell me something about your performances. They are usually like emotional and like very, very, driving. So, can you share your most memorable experiences for your own performances? Like, what drive you emotionally? What was like the most memorable
It
one?
was a Eagle of Death Metal show, Muslim extremist attack, where they came into like a sold out the Eagle of Death Metal show with machine guns and just started shooting. So the whole town, the whole city of Paris shut down after that, but we were on tour with Shining. Um, and we had a scheduled show at the place called Divan du Monde on the November 18th, which was 4 days or so after that attack. So we didn't know if we could do it, but the police kind of opened up for doing shows that day, and we just had a talk in the bus, if we were going to do it or not, because obviously it was people were afraid of follow-up attacks or copycat attacks, stuff like that. So I just I wanted to do it, and everybody wanted to do it. So we did that show, and I came on stage. I had prepared the French national anthem, and I had learned that, so I played that on the sax, and people were singing along. And the lyrics in French it's a very kind of like warlike song where they sing about they're gonna color the grass red with the enemy's blood. It was really like powerful shit. And the people who came out their show had also, they had fought their own fears and decided that I want to live my life. I want to go to a show. I want to do. The terrorists are not going to tell me what to do or not. I don't want to
Yeah.
live in fear. So that was and we started playing our normal show. We started with the song "I Won't Forget," and during the show we also took a picture of everyone with their fingers up, and had that like a kind of like a memory to show the terrorists that fuck off.
Well,
So
that
that
was
was a
brave.
I was a
Yeah.
very, very, really remember that show. And it was the only time in my life where we have checked emergency exits from the backstage. We went up on the roof to see, if something happened, where could we go, and where did we how to escape. That was yeah, I never really thought about that, but that day we did think about that. So that's something I remember well. And I'm sure everyone in the audience remember that. And I have some fucking great video footage of that show. And so that's one of the ones I remember the most. We also played a show at Trolltunga, which in English is called the Troll's Tongue, which is a big kind of stone ledge that sticks out from the mountain in Norway, and it's 800 meters straight down, like 2,000 feet. Nobody have ever played there before, at least, you know, in modern history. There's no power there, so we had to fly up a power generator and the backland with helicopters and set it up there. And the audience had to hike up. They had to walk up 5 hours up the mountain to see the show.
That was insane.
So we filmed it. We have some awesome pictures from there. We have mixed one song, and so there's one song on YouTube that you can see. And we did a 40 minutes concert. So I'm gonna hopefully soon. I've talked about it for a long time. I'm gonna mix the whole concert and get the whole concert out, but I haven't done it yet. But that's, I'd say, one other thing that I really remember. I think those are the two big ones. And you know, those I also love. I did a show with Emperor at a boat from Miami to Mexico and back. It's called 70,000 Tons of Metal, which is a cruise boat that goes that has metal shows on the boat one way to Mexico, and then a day off in Mexico, and then the same shows on the way back. And that one of the shows, the first one shows was an indoor show, and I don't remember much of it, but the outdoor show, the second one, was out on the deck on top of it, and it was like kind of stormy seas. So the whole boat was shaking, and you had like waves coming up on, at least, you know, you get salt water in your face and it was blowing. You had winds and shit. And so that kind of stuff I really like, where things are a bit out of control and kind of unique. I don't really like things that are very safe.
Yeah.
I like things that are unsafe.
A bit of adrenaline, right? Yeah. I like that. When you said that, mentioned about the boat, we recently saw Gaia. I think it's pronounced like that, like you know, that's black metal band. And they started getting popular recently, pretty much, you know, and they have all those masks and everything. And it's pretty much, it was on the boat, and it was like so good. The atmosphere, the everything, you know, everything. And the thing is, like, you know, what I like when they ask them, why do they perform with all the masks on? Because it's really hard to breathe. Like, basically no room for breathing. And I was in the first row because I really had to feel it, you know. And it was like they were pretty much, you know, people were struggling to breathe, but they just kept on playing, and they said they like it because of that. And because that you know, when people just see the band, they pay too much attention on the look and everything, and that spoils the whole concept, right? And they just wanted people to focus on the music and playing and the atmosphere, and they pretty much did it. So I really liked it. Yeah. And also, tell me something about exploring dark and introspective themes. I think that's pretty much important. I can relate to that because I write certain poems myself, and it's kind of a typo negative mixed with Deftones kind of feeling, you know, just vibe, of course, not all the lyrics. It just, you know, when I get inspiration, it comes to my head. And it can be, you know, I had COVID last year, and I just felt certain, you know, lyrics coming up from me, like naturally. And I just, you know, took paper and wrote everything. And my friends be like, wow, why don't you publish it? And I was like, well, I don't know. It's just like you pour your soul into the world, and I just want to keep it for myself, you know. But your lyrics are also very emotional when, you know, people just pay attention to it. And you mentioned, you know, when you were speaking about your father and what happened at the hospital. But can you say more about all those themes and that related topics in your songs?
Yeah, I think I didn't write much lyrics until black jazz, I think. So I've been writing lyrics kind of since 2008, 9, 10 kind of. So it's but I can see when I look back, I can see that during one period, like I can see my life and I can see what I was dealing with in my period of life. I can see that in the lyrics. So with black jazz, it was one kind of thing, and then later with animal, like you mentioned, there was a lot of
Yeah.
like my father got sick for the first time, so it was a lot of, and he eventually died. So it was a lot of dealing with death and that kind of stuff
Yeah.
at that time. And then when I'm like, now that I'm kind of done with that, I've like, death isn't that interesting anymore
Yeah.
because I've kind of been through it.
Yeah.
So what I
Explored
feel,
it. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I feel now. Like if I look at the songs I'm doing now, it's more about that I look back on my life and I kind of like being in in opposition and in fights and in like a kind of constant rebel kind of, and I also, it's about that, and also about the fact that I think people should be allowed to do whatever the fuck they want. So that kind of vibe is very present in the newer songs. And well, I know that it also, the first song I wrote that was something like that. Like already we released Black Jazz in 2010, and then we had an album called 111 in 2013. And when that, already at that time, I was feeling, I was feeling that kind of pressure from people trying to tell me what kind of music I should write or not. So I know that, sometimes you have this period where you only write about one thing, but I can kind of see where it comes from, and it's been already from 2013. I was thinking the same kind of thoughts, but to simplify it, that I see my life from certain periods in the lyrics from that period. And I like, I grow, and my life is different now than it was 10 years ago. So obviously what I write about is different. So that's kind of like, that's one thing. The lyrics is in a way kind of about what I'm thinking about in my life. But I also, like you said, there's a lot of, I like the kind of darker things about life, but I still like it to have this kind of uplifting, positive energy to it. I like the aggressiveness and the dark stuff, but I wanted to have a feeling that about, you want to fight it and you want to make it better, as
Yeah.
opposed to just wallowing in the negativity and just wanting to be there and give up. I'm not into that. I'm into looking at something that's wrong and wanting to fix it and wanting to fight what's wrong. So
Yeah.
that kind of, there's some life force also in it. I think that's a very important thing. There are some metal bands or black metal bands also that have this kind of depressive vibe to it. And I feel that the energy should be
Uplifting.
upwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
I
I
like
agree.
aggression. But it should be in a way kind of to make things better.
Yeah. Well, but who do you admire? Speaking of writing lyrics, for example, when I mentioned type O negative, I really like their humor. Kind of a
All
darkish
right.
humor.
Yeah.
But people just get wrong impression if they don't dive deeper into it. But when you think of it, it's like insane how they did it. And
Yeah.
also Kurt Cobain, insane, insane. I'm very impressed with his lyrics. And
Mm.
also for Deftones, like definitely, like I really like how they progressed with it over the years and how they still rock, like.
I know that one thing I like, since like I'm from Scandinavia, and we have this melancholic kind of thing here, but we also have, there's an Swedish pop artist is called Robin, and she's really good at writing kind of happy music with sad lyrics, or sad music with kind of happy sad music, happy lyrics, or happy music and sad lyrics, like this kind of
contrast,
opposite, a contrast in which I kind of, that was something we were kind of conscious about with Animal, that album, which is the kind of music itself has, it's groovy, and it has this kind of rock vibe. And the
it's
cover
driving.
and the cover artwork is yellow, and it's got this tiger, but then the lyrics is not like that. Most of it, it's like Animal is a bit of a party lyric, but all of the other stuff is about death and loss and kind of sadder stuff. And I think that's the same kind of contrast, which I kind of like. And it's funny that you're saying like type of negative. On the surface, it might just look dark and depressive kind of, but then you said that they have some humor in it, which is something that if you kind of look in detail, it's interesting to find that kind of stuff. But you have to look, you have to be a little bit more interested than just listen to it on the surface.
Exactly.
To see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And like personally, if you ask me what I like, I also think that there's an interesting, in the English language, you get this word fun and funny. And I like music that is fun, but personally, I'm not that fan of funny music. So see what I'm saying? I want it to be fun, but the music I make, at least now, I want it to be kind of fun, interesting, but not funny, not like sarcastic, and not ironic, not something that you laugh. But there's something about, and what sometimes makes music a bit fun is like, of course, groovy stuff is kind of fun, but also having it, like playing with what's allowed or not, playing with what, trying to be on the edge of what is allowed, like, and what is good taste and what is bad taste, just being on the edge of that, I think makes things interesting and fun.
Yeah, and it's cool that you mentioned that, because, for example, I was very sad to hear when about the band Bad Omens. I saw them in Budapest this year. They were absolutely amazing, like insanely amazing. And the thing is, they have also been judged for drastically changing their style, like way too commercial or something. But I thought it was actually great, although I admired that their first album. But I think it was great, like refreshing, and like they totally like implemented some clean vocals, more experimenting. Like I was really amazed. So yeah, and also I think the singer was telling about that, how certain people consider the music should be safe and like by their own rules, some rules invented, made up rules by society. And that's what artists shouldn't do, actually, because otherwise they wouldn't be artists. Like they were just right.
Yeah, right. I think that's in this important distinction. If you want to be an artist, or if you want to be, I don't know what. If you're Coca-Cola, then your point is that you just want to make something that people buy, and so you can't really take these chances. If you're Coca-Cola, you got to make Coca-Cola, and if you want to make a car, then you got to call it something else, because you can't take the chances. But if you're an artist, I think you are allowed to do that, because we're making stuff. Our main goal is not to sell it. Our main goal is something else. I mean, at least my goal is something else. It's making stuff that maybe gives someone an emotional reaction, and shows them something about life, like makes them look at life a different way. That's kind of like that's a goal, and not to not to earn money. That's not the goal.
Yeah, because we already mentioned it. If the money is only goal, then most likely those kind of artists, just being focused on that, losing creativity, stay out
Yeah.
of the scene, not really pouring their souls. So it's kind of a bit of tricky thing.
Yeah, you
right?
can't really be creative if you're afraid of anything. And if you're afraid of lose, like I know that every time I have like the best frame of mind that I can be in when I'm making stuff is to feel and believe that I have nothing to lose and everything to win. I can't be afraid of doing something wrong. So and that's how I've made, like I allowed myself to do when I made Black Jazz. It was a big break from what we'd done. And I said to myself that I'm taking this chance, and if everything goes to shit, then it was worth it. And the same with Animal. We built up this kind of audience that like Black Jazz was a very rebellious and very controversial and extreme and adventurous album, and it needed people who were open-minded and adventurous for them to like it. So we got those people in the beginning, and after a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, the audience that we have, I felt they started getting more and more stale and more narrow-minded and more like a fucking church of Black Jazz rather than something that was interested in innovation and adventure and being surprised. So I got tired of that, and myself, I got tired of doing the same things. So when I made Animal, that was those. It was a way of kind of I don't know, it's kind of what's the word? Yeah, kind of like it was a way of rebelling against that close-mindedness again, and force people to be open-minded again, because I want, yeah, and like I said, to allow myself to make Animal. I knew that by doing that I took a big risk, and I could end up losing everyone, but I felt like it was worth it.
That's what I say. Yeah, you know what they say. Sorry because interrupting you, but I just wanted to relate to this. I mean, eventually we will lose everyone, but we are too much concerned about losing everyone, and we are, we just want to please everyone and everything, and then we lose ourselves in the process. And I think that's the biggest loss. Actually, right?
It is, yeah, right, yeah. And if you, yeah, that's right. So if you think about it that way, it only makes sense to just stay true to whatever you want to do. And like the worst thing is because you never know what people want. You can think that they might want a certain thing, but you could actually end up, let's say you thought that people wanted you to do the same again. So, while you want to do something different, but then you think, okay, I got to pay my mortgage, and I've had people, booking agents, I have people who rely on this income. The band wants to, go out and be famous and, be at a party. So, okay, I'm not going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do what I think people want me to do. So you do that, and you might actually end up making something that they don't want, that they don't like. So if you've lost your audience because you didn't do interesting stuff, and you've also not done what you want to do yourself. So you've kind of lost double. So in that way, it's much more risky to do that than stay with what you want. At least you're not going to lose that. You might lose your audience, but you're not going to, that you're going to win one way.
Well, that was very, very smart. I never thought about it that way, actually, but that's pretty smart, actually.
I think it's just.
Yeah. I also wanted to say something else. It's really important about tell me something about your complex compositions and layered instrumentations. I think we didn't touch it, the way we should,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I
No,
think there's something unique about your band. Also can't be really recognized, when someone just hears a glimpse of it, you really have to dig a bit deeper
so what do you
yeah.
think? What are you like? How do you what are you thinking about? How do you look at it? Or how do you hear when you say it's something special? What in your words, what is special about it?
Well, what is special that you are able to combine so many elements? I'm really stuck in music theory, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I hope you feel me on that. Yeah. So the thing is, but there are also so many layered compositions and instrumentations, something like beneath the surface, like something that's a little bit deeper, like underneath everything. And that's also combined well, and also those kind of crossovers, and how you combine everything with all the lyrics, and make something unique about your band. And
Yeah.
I think we didn't dig deeper into that kind
I
of how
mean,
to yeah.
I think it's my thoughts when you say that is that uh to me it's important when I make something that I want to make it clear. And
Yeah.
maybe if you have too many layers, you might end up not hearing anything. So I think
Yeah.
it's important to, if you want to combine something in the production and in the mixing and in the arrangement, you want to make sure that you decide a few things that you want to hear. You want to hear the drum parts, but you also have this kind of weird vocal sample thing, and you want to make sure that people hear it. So
Yeah.
we when we write, we usually think about the mixing and the production as if it was a music video. And in a music video, you usually see certain things at a time. When the singer is singing, boom, you see the singer. And then when he's not singing, you see a drum fill. And when there's a guitar solo, you see the guitar solo. And when maybe, you sometimes you have this vocal, and then at the last word, you send that to a delay, delay, delay. So like this echo. And so a lot of mixing engineers just have that echo as a low kind of echo. But if it's there, I want it to be heard. So I'd rather kind of have less things, but make sure that everything is heard, which I think maybe it contributes to what you're saying, that maybe it's not that much about having many layers, but it's maybe about choosing certain layers and make sure that in the process of producing and mixing that you can hear those layers, and you make holes in the vocals so you can hear other things. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
also, of course, like we have this song called I don't give a fuck, IDGAF.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like a rock guitar riff thing, which was okay. And then we fucked around with some vocal samples and made a melody out of that. And it was kind of weird. And I was thinking, maybe let's hear how it is without. Like, let's kind of like roll back and remind ourselves how the song was without it. And then when it took it out, it got boring. So with it, it was maybe like I would rather we have this rule where we would much rather have something be something than be nothing, which means that I'd rather have the song be remembered and hated than
Yeah,
to not be remembered. So I would
exactly.
rather have something in there that people remember. Um, and that's an example. That vocal sample thing in the beginning of I Don't Give a Fuck is something that everybody notices, everybody remembers, and we made sure it was loud as fuck in the mix. And if people don't like it, that's fine, but they're sure gonna remember it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's kind of like one of my big goals.
Yeah, that's nicely explained. Tell me for the end, I suppose it's a bit challenging, to do a lot of things by yourself and everything. So how do you manage to, to find your own personal peace moments, for relaxation and everything? And what would you say about it? And of course, you can recommend something you like, you're into at the moment.
Well, I like to work, so I'm not that much into relaxing. That's not my thing. But I have no like I've like I have two kids. I have a son who's 7 and a daughter who's 2 years old. So they kind of keep me kind of I have this kind of they help me get some time off from work, you know. And I also do every morning I have this kind of breathing exercise. I love to like free dive, like be diving in the ocean and hold my breath. And I also started doing breathing exercises in the morning and stretching out and some meditation, which I've done the last couple of years, which is just helped me kind of focus. And I love to have cold showers like once every day, and sometimes I like in the winter here in Norway I do sometimes do like swim in the ocean, which is also a way to kind of get yourself out of your head, you know. So those are things that I do. And also in the studio, like these are kind of like some ideas in the studio. Also, if I need to learn something, either a song or if I'm writing something and my brain gets tired, I sometimes um like lie down to sleep for 10 minutes and then get up again. And it kind of helps kind of reset the brain.
Power
So
nap.
yeah. So I have these kind of tricks that I do that I like. Yeah,
Yeah,
those
also
are my tricks.
Yeah, cool. I also tried guided meditation because I'm not really, it's kind of easier for me, when I'm about to sleep because I'm not really experienced at it. So I kind of try some of those from YouTube and it's kind of cool, I must say. It's a good way to, to just refresh yourself, right? And focus.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
yeah.
mm.
And tell me something, okay, the last one for this is definitely the last one. So, are you open to some possible collaborations? Speaking of, I don't know, making videos, like artworks, whatever comes up to your mind, and what's the best way for people to contact you?
I think I'm pretty much available on all sorts of internet things. I have my email address on the Shining website, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere. So like you didn't have any problem getting hold of me. So I think everybody will be able to get hold of me. So
Yeah,
that's how you do that. Um, Collaborate. I'm always interested in collaborations, and like at the moment I have been focusing on music, and I've expanded to producing and writing and mixing and doing some artwork stuff and video. But I think in the future, like I always loved drawing and I always loved like visual stuff. So maybe I'll do that later when I get, when I have more time. But at the moment, it's usually music, and like I said, I'm always open for collaboration. Usually, you see the collaborations I do with more famous musicians, but I do collaborations with a lot of unknown artists too, and I like that. Um, I like to see what people are doing. Maybe I get inspired by them, and also if not, maybe I'll be able to inspire them. Like it's just part of being an artist, I think, to be interested in other people's art too.
cool.
So I like that.
Cool, cool. I am totally open if you decide to make some totally crazy, unconventional music videos, so I would be in. Definitely, yeah, yeah. Okay. And thank you so much. I really had a great time. I hope I mean, I didn't get you bored or something like that.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I had a great time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And of course, thank you for your time. And have a great rest of the evening. And I hope to see you next year in Budapest, as you said.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, we will come to Budapest.
Cool.
We played at A38 a couple of times and at Dudecat a couple of times. So those are the venues that I know. But I think we played at the what's the venue called something Blackbeard, Barba Negra.
Oh, I have been. Yeah, I have seen Gojira there. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's it. Yeah,
So we
cool.
played a lot of places in Budapest, and it's always been great every time. Like Budapest is one of the best cities for us.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. A great city, amazing.
Yeah.
So I definitely count on you that you will show up next year. Cool,
Yes.
cool. Yeah. So enjoy. Thank you once again, and see you next year. See you.
See you next
Bye.
year. Have a
Bye
great day.
bye.
Have a great evening. Bye.
Thank you. You too. Bye. Bye bye.